I grew up and my dad was a partner and ran a small fast food restaurant. And so I got interested in that industry, went to hotel and restaurant school in college, and started a hotel company in my mid-20s with my brother. And we were building that business, and we were both raising our families in the area in Connecticut, small town, Easton. And my older son, Brian, who was just entering high school, started to have issues with originally alcohol. And it grew more severe when he was in high school. And it led to us, his mother and I, working with him to go to a treatment program. Over 8 years, he went to 8 different treatment programs from like age 17 to 25. And he was starting to do really well. In fact, when he was 25, he reached 1 year of sobriety for the first time and was starting to do well. And then I got a call one evening, 5 weeks after his 1 year sobriety, telling me that my son had just died. He was 25 years old and he hadn't used a substance in 13 months. So it obviously doesn't get any worse for a father.
Welcome to A Life Worth Working, the podcast about finding meaning and purpose at the heart of our work.
I'm Dana Allen Walsh, a pastor and executive coach who walks with people through life's deepest questions.
And I'm Michelle Weiss, a writer and thinker on the future of education and work.
Together, we're exploring the soul of work, how our struggles, longings, and hopes shape the lives we're building.
Thanks so much for joining us. As always, we love hearing your comments, questions, and thoughts. So please know you can email us at any time at hello@alifeworthworking.com.
Please make sure you subscribe to our show, give it all the stars, and share it with your friends and loved ones who may be searching for more meaning in their work lives.
In this episode, we chat with Brian Mendell, the founder and chairman of Shatterproof, a national organization dedicated to ending addiction and the stigma surrounding it. Gary, real quick, just so that our listeners fully understand, when you described your son meeting his 1 year mark and then 5 weeks later getting the call, what had actually happened? Do you know?
Well, yes. What I learned afterward was that in the 6 months, a couple things happened. Number one, in the treatment program prior to the outpatient program he was currently in, he was prescribed for the first time Suboxone, which is a medication that treats those addicted to opioids. It was the first time it was even mentioned to us. We didn't even know about it. And he did wonderful. It was the best he'd ever done. It was like the old Brian again, out there smiling, helping people. And then when he was released from that program, he went to an outpatient program, and they immediately said that we don't believe in this medication, and they got him off it fairly quickly. And he seemed to be doing okay after he was off it. But what I didn't know, and I found out after he died, that in the outpatient program, when he was talking to different therapists, he was talking suicidal thoughts. And he wanted to stay on the medication, and he was taken off it. And suicidal thoughts, because that's what happens sometimes when you come off that medication. But also, what he wrote about in his suicide note was the treatment programs not understanding what he needed. And then what I found out was the day before he died, he had an appointment with his therapist, and they said, "We're releasing you. We can't help you anymore." And then they called a woman that he was dating and said, "You should stay away from Brian. He's dangerous." And the next day he took his life.
Oh my gosh.
And then I found out that the reason that they let him go was they didn't want any of their patients to be there with suicidal thoughts. It could be a bad reputation for the program. Instead of calling us up and say, your son has some mental health issues, let's get him to a different treatment program that can treat him for mental health, they just released him.
Wow. I'm so sorry.
Found that out after he died. I ended up suing the treatment program, and they settled because they were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They were wrong. And they did it to another patient, and that patient also died. I mean, he wrote about in his suicide note that the treatment program was programs that he had been to over the years were not listening to him to what he needed. The one program that he'd been to, that 7th program where they prescribed a Suboxone, he actually called me at the end of the 30 days and said, Dad, can I stay an extra 30 days? They understand me. They're asking him about my anxiety and other mental health issues. They're not just treating me for addiction. The program before, he called me one day and he was I said, how was your day? He said, Dad, they had me scrubbing toilets to build my energy or something, or for me to understand what it's like to do hard work. He was scrubbing toilets with a toothbrush. That same treatment program, I asked them, are you treating him for his anxiety? No, Mr. Mendell, we're not treating him for anxiety. He's got to stop using drugs, and then he'll be treated for anxiety. Whereas that 7th program put it all together. They were treating him for everything, including the medication. And that medication right now is the gold standard for someone addicted to opioids. Gold standard recommended by the CDC, HHS, all federal agencies, gold standard. It was the gold standard then, but treatment programs weren't using it. And I'll tell you today, only less than half of the treatment programs in the country use it. Little less than half. It should be 100%. There's not a doctor in this country who would treat someone for diabetes without insulin. And that's what we're changing.
Gary struggled with 2 questions. What could he have done differently as a father? And what could he do to help others? He traveled the country to dig in. He met with the CDC and multiple federal agencies. He talked with state government officials, researchers, and experts in addiction.
After 3 months of traveling, listening, and learning, Gary came home and sat down at his desk. He put aside the 3-ring binders, the notebooks, all the notes he'd taken.
And I wrote 5 things on a sheet of paper. Number 1, big. And what I meant by that was, this is the largest cause of death between 18 and 45-year-olds in this country. Alcohol and drug use. Number 1 cause of death. 1/4 of our American families, someone in their family has a substance use disorder. Mother, father, son, or daughter. Big. Number 2, I wrote the word children. And what I meant by that was, I learned reading research reports that literally 8 out of 10, not 100%, but 8 out of 10 of those with a substance use disorder developed the disease before their 18th birthday, when their brains were still developing. And we as a society were just letting it happen. Number 3, I wrote the word tragic. And by that I meant not that my son had died. That's not what I was thinking of when I wrote that word. What I was thinking of is I learned that our federal government had provided approximately $20 billion in the 2 decades before my son's death to researchers all across the country. And those researchers had successfully used that funding and created wonderful bodies of knowledge. Knowledge that had proven through randomly controlled trials without any doubt, if our families, our healthcare system, and our communities did certain things, 20 to 40% less of our teenagers would use substances and develop this disease. 20 to 40% less. And a second body of knowledge that had proven, again, without any doubt, if our healthcare system followed certain protocols, proven through science, those with this disease would recover and do well in life, comparable at success rates comparable to any other chronic illness, such as heart disease, diabetes. But I wrote the word tragic because all this stuff was buried in medical journals and not being implemented.
Mm-hmm.
Information I didn't know as a father, and information the treatment programs I was sending my son to weren't using. And then I asked myself, why? How could this be? And the answer popped out. There was American Cancer Society, American Heart Association, Susan Komen, Autism Speaks. For every major disease in this country, there was one national, well-funded nonprofit leading the fight to protect their families, our families, from their respective disease. And no such organization existed for addiction on any scale and scope comparable to those. And I asked myself, how could this be? And then I wrote the word stigma. I could have walked into any restaurant in America in 2012 and said, I have a charity for addiction. Would you donate $1? People would have looked at me like I had 6 heads. Are you kidding me? A charity for addiction? Just throw them in jail.
But Gary could see how this could change. A vision started to emerge of uniting millions of Americans within one national organization and empowering them to create change like has been done for other diseases. With that vision, he left his business.
I spent 1.5 years developing a business plan before we launched, working with a lot of the people that I'd met for that 3 months when I was traveling, and developed a business plan. Studied other nonprofits. How do they bring in their funding? How do they make the greatest impact? Brought in my business career with the way to run this like a business.
He formed Shatterproof with 3 criteria.
Number 1, everything that we do will be based on science. Number 2, everything we do is not only helping people today, but we're catalyzing partnerships to change the system for generations. And number 3, run this like a business with KPIs, goals, everything set on return on investment in a business. Here, it's return on investment for impact.
Shatterproof has become a national force for change. With 46 state and federal laws passed, their work centers on 3 priorities: transforming treatment so it's affordable and accessible, ending shame and stigma, and empowering families through education and prevention. They've studied major social movements to design strategies that work.
Today, they're rolling out programs in 5 states and offering Atlas, an online tool that helps people quickly find evidence-based treatment programs near their homes through a simple 10-question assessment.
Behind all of Shatterproof's success is Gary's son, Brian. Through tears, Gary reflects on his own regrets.
I will never blame myself for not trying hard enough. I couldn't have tried any harder, but I made mistakes that I now know of. All his friends told me, Brian loved you. You were his favorite person. And Brian and I were always, I love you. We loved each other greatly, got along beautifully. But I never said, this must be hard for you. Every time he would relapse, I would say, it's okay. No problem. Let's get you into another treatment program. Maybe you learn something from the last one that will help you in this new one. Or maybe you'll try a little harder, or for whatever reason, you'll now do better and not relapse. But it's okay, Brian. So I feel good that having had that relationship with him. But I didn't say, this must be hard for you. If he had cancer and he was in bed getting treated for cancer and all his friends were going off to college and getting jobs, everyone would have said to him, this must be hard for you. We're so proud of you for trying so hard to fight off this disease. I didn't say that. And I feel horrible.
This is Gary's calling.
When I had those 5 things on a sheet of paper, I was sitting at a chair in my office, and I looked at those 5 things on a sheet of paper. And at that moment, I just happened to look up, and on the wall was the last picture of my son, Brian, alive. He was on the street helping someone, and I snapped the picture 5 weeks before he died. I'm not that religious, but just that just happened to me just now. I remember it like it was a minute ago. I got goosebumps. And I said, Gary, you're going to go do this. You're going to create the national nonprofit in this country that will create generational impact, change the way that our society will prevent, treat, provide recovery support for those with this disease without any shame or stigma. This can be done.
He feels Brian's presence in every success story.
10 months ago, I walked off the stage after making a presentation, and a woman comes up to me and hugs me and cries. And she said, Gary, your program, Locator for Treatment Programs, saved my son's life. He's alive because of you and your work.
Powerful.
And that just means so much.
Of course, Gary misses his son every day. But through Shatterproof, he's built what didn't exist for Brian, a national evidence-based stigma-busting movement to save other families.
Gary, it's powerful to hear you recognize that those struggling with addiction often have the added layer of shame and judgment as they're attempting to fight to be whole and to find healing and hope moving forward.
Yeah. I can tell you statistically, 1/3 of those with a substance use disorder, 1/3 feel ashamed of themselves. Is there anyone with cancer, heart disease, or diabetes that feel ashamed of themselves?
Right.
Can you share maybe a little bit about what Shatterproof does? And because I know that you really thought very carefully about sort of how you intervene in various layers and even in policy as well and advocacy. So could you just kind of walk us through that?
When we started with policy, because the beauty of policy, if you change a law, it's there. Unless someone changes it back, it's there forever. You've changed the system. So we started out with policy, and if you like more, I can give you the type of policies, but we started out with that. And once we got our feet off the ground and we started getting laws passed in states that were undoubtedly saving people's lives, and I can show an investor or a donor, and I can go to sleep at night knowing we're using donor money to have real sustainable impact, then we moved into where we are today. And where we are today is 3 segments of work. Number 1, transforming the treatment system in the United States. Number 2, ending shame and stigma. Number 3, educating and empowering families, including prevention. And then those are the 3 main categories of work. And they're all supported by, we have the leading public policy team in the country. We've gotten 46 laws passed in 24 states, 5 federal bills. We're making enormous impact in policy, and policies related to those 3 categories. So let's talk about transforming addiction treatment. There's 2 things needed to be changed, 2 statistics. Only about 1 in 5 people with this disease, about 20%, get any treatment at all. 1 in 5, 20%. Compare that to any other chronic illness, which is 65 to 70%. When you look at heart disease, diabetes, etc., only 1 in 5. And then, even worse, the 1 in 5 who do get treated, only 1 in 5 of those are getting treated with protocols that are based on research, compared to 100% for the other diseases. Yes, there's doctors better or worse than others, but if you could treat it for diabetes, heart disease, cancer, anything, 100% are following the research.
Mm-hmm.
This disease, it's about 20%. So 20% times 20%, that's 4% with this disease. They're getting evidence-based treatment.
Mm.
So that's the North Star. So how do we change that? We change it by, number one, getting more people to go to treatment. How do we do that? We make sure that payment models are in parity with other disease states, which the law requires, but let's make sure it's implemented so people can afford to go to treatment. That it's reimbursed for the same way that someone with a broken arm gets reimbursed for their disease, number one. Number two, create information for people so they know where to go. Right now, it's everybody calling their neighbor. Have you ever heard of a treatment program? Number three, provide that information readily accessible to people so they know how to access it and where to go. Number four, reduce shame and stigma so people are not ashamed to go.
How do you do that part?
Mm-hmm.
Shame and stigma.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move into that second category. How do we end shame and stigma? I approached McKinsey and Company as a partner.
Mm-hmm.
They did all their work pro bono.
Mm.
And for a year and a half, we studied 11 social movements, 100 published research articles on how those movements were effective, had 50 interviews with each one with a different expert who went through those 11 social movements, and put together a business plan on how to do this for addiction. And through that research, we determined several key ingredients. Number one, using stories of those who had a substance use disorder and normalizing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm John Doe. I work at Walmart. I've been promoted 5 times in the last 10 years. I'm now store manager. My life is wonderful. I'm married. I have 3 kids. I have barbecues on the weekends for my neighbors. And I'm addicted to heroin.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been successfully treated. I haven't used a substance in 12 years. And my life is wonderful. And yes, you could be my neighbor, my friend, my coworker.
Mm-hmm.
And then you serve those stories to people in that same income class and that same geographic area.
Mm.
So it feels they can relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you create stories of people working on Wall Street, and you create stories of people who are farmers. You create people of all demographics, all socioeconomic classes, all races, and you serve like stories to like people.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been proven to work. And right now we are doing that in 5 states, funded by state governments.
Mm.
And we just signed a contract 3 months ago in North Carolina, which became our 5th state. And we're implementing it there. And we're in 4 other states. So that is one piece. With McKinsey, we identified 6 segments of society. Number 1, the public/communities. Number 2, the healthcare system. Number 3, corporate companies, employers. Number 5, the criminal justice system. Number 6 is government. So 6 sectors of our society, and we need to develop programmatic features in each of those 6 that fall into 3 categories: changing language, changing policies, and implementing the right communication strategies. And that's what we're doing. So we started out with public stigma, with partnering with state governments. We then entered in partnership with a very generous funding from the Elevance Foundation, the Elevance Health Foundation, where we developed curriculum to educate healthcare professionals. 65% of healthcare professionals do not think this is a disease. 45% do not believe in medications. We're changing that. We developed the curriculum. We're now educating with generous funding from Elevance 3,000 healthcare professionals. We'll have it all done by early next year. We'll have pre and post testing to what we suspect will show significant differences, and then we'll work to spread that across the country. We're beginning to work in companies to create stigma-free workplaces and to educate their human resource department about a program we have in treatment called Atlas, which basically gathers data from treatment program right now in 14 states that shows which treatment programs are following evidence-based practices and which ones aren't. So when their employees need to go to treatment, they know where to go in these states. And we also partnered with the American Society of Addiction Medicine and built on 2 decades worth of research. Not only what are the right protocols, we already had that from research, but what level of care does someone need? Do they need outpatient or residential? No one knows. So we took their very sophisticated tool, which are used by healthcare professionals to determine one of 12 levels of care, and we work with them to develop simply just outpatient or residential. Let's get people to the right place. And then when they go to the right place, then they can get the comprehensive and continue to titrate and fine tune the level of care they need. So with their science, together we built a 10-question assessment. Anybody can go onto our website right now, confidentially, and get a recommendation. And then if they do that, then we're only going to show them listed treatment programs that fit that criteria. So it makes it so much easier within 50 miles of their home, of their zip code, et cetera, et cetera. And we need to expand that nationally.
Right.
Gary, we have a metaphor that we often work with on the podcast around this idea of manure, and that it becomes the fertilizer for good things to grow. And so we're curious about maybe moments of stuckness, kind of the shitty parts of life that have fertilized possibilities that you couldn't have imagined. And you've obviously shared some very powerful things today. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to share as you think about a place of stuckness or something that's been really hard that you've faced, that out of which something good has come.
Nothing close to this. Losing my son, Brian, and taking from that, using that tragedy and his inspiration in my heart to bring together so many people, and all of us together, not just me, obviously, all of us together, creating the real change that we've created, as well as the people we're helping today. There's nothing that would come close to that. I would say a thing that is way down the list. A year ago, I had a health issue and I've lost most of my vision. I feel good that I'm continuing to move forward. And I feel that's a good learning experience for our children to realize obstacles happen. And there's people every day starving without any food. Who am I to complain? Because I lost some vision. On the other hand, my wife will tell me when I tell her how guilty I feel if I feel any issue with losing some vision or losing my son when billions of people are starving. She says, Gary, it's okay. Obviously, you feel bad for the people who are starving, but it's okay to feel depressed for your loss of Brian. It's okay to feel depressed that you now have a grandchild and you can't see the grandchild's face. It's okay. You can feel bad for both.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary, that is like, I know it's very far down the list for you on your loss of Brian, like compared to your loss of Brian.
It's not even close.
Not even close, but still like so incredibly humbling and transformative for your everyday life. It is a huge deal, and I'm wondering how you're doing and how you've had to sort of adapt.
I'm doing fine. I've had some wonderful people helping me learn voice technology. So I can do a lot of things by listening on my iPhone and by listening to my computer. I have dots on my keyboard and I know where to touch things to be able to type. And I'm getting a lot of help. And it is what it is. I haven't lost total vision. I just can't read, but I can listen to things. But I can walk around my house and not bump into things. And I can walk down the street and see people. I just can't see who they are or their faces. So let me appreciate that. There's some people can't see at all. I can look out the window and still see that it's a sunny day out there. I can't see the sun, but I can see that it's bright. And some people can't see at all. So I'm okay.
A special thanks to Gary Mendell for sharing with such vulnerability his learnings along the way of creating the most incredible national nonprofit combating addiction stigma.
Gary's story reminds us that our deepest pain can be our most powerful purpose, and that the work worth doing often comes from the places we'd never choose to go.
She's Michelle Weiss.
And she's Dana Allen Walsh.
This has been another episode of A Life Worth Working.
Subscribe and share with friends who may be navigating their own uncertain paths, and keep searching with us for the soul of work.